right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Ethan Bianchi. We're here with a very special guest. He's the track and field coach. He's our trainer. He helps with the football team. He's a teacher, coach, does a little bit of everything. Coach Rohit Sharma, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ethan. Thanks for having me on today.
Starting off, how are you? How's your family? How have you been in COVID and pandemic and all that?
I'm actually doing a lot better. It was crazy trying to adjust going from such a busy life, here at work to like go to like no, like not having to wake up super early and come out here. I'd be lying if I said I'm doing super okay, because I'm not, because I miss being out here and working and actually, striving to completing something. My family's okay. I have my grandma and my aunt. They're both in their 80s, so I make sure that they stay safe. Everybody else in my family all okay. Thank you for asking. I just one good thing out of this is I've got a lot of home projects completed and other ones started. But yeah, I got a chance to do that.
What's the weirdest thing for you adjusting? Like, what was the thing you realized you missed that you weren't even aware of before?
I would say that I missed all the walking I did. I mean, I went from having like 15 to 20,000 steps a day to my goal being like 3,000. Like, are you serious? Come on now. I'd have 3,000 by the time I started my first period, with walking around here and there. So yeah, adjusting to not having all that calorie outtake, but still keeping the same amount of calorie intake was definitely not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I didn't even realize, I haven't even thought about that, like walking around school. That's interesting. All right, starting things off, you talked about how much stuff you do. How do you juggle all the things that you do for our athletics department, and just what do you do? Like, I know you have a lot of jobs, so.
All right, so as far as athletics go, I am the athletic trainer, and I originally came back in 2005, 2006 and started coaching track. I was an assistant coach, coaching the throws. And at the same time, I was working on being an athletic trainer. I was a student trainer at Sac City College. And at the time, the athletic director, she knew that I was doing training. They needed a trainer here. So they hired me to do that. And so then I started coaching and training, which worked out pretty well. And then I started coaching football when Coach Floyd came on staff. So yeah, I just make it happen. I don't know how I do it, but I just do it. I just make sure I priority. The reason why I'm so successful at it is because I have a lot of support around me. So track, for instance, my assistant coaches are hands down the best assistant coaches and associate coaches, I think, anywhere in Sacramento. I know if I'm not there at the beginning of practice, they got it locked down. They're handling it. They know, and I only keep, winners keep winners around them, and that's what I do. So I have my coaches are just hands down amazing, and they understand that I also do the training thing, which I also enjoy because I get to keep my hand in all the sports and I get to support more students that way.
What else can you say about? So you also announced the basketball games. How does that tie into your job on top of the other things that you have to do?
It's something I enjoy doing. I know the girls have an announcer, someone who comes and announces for them, and I felt bad. I was like, well, the boys don't have anybody, so I'm going to hype them up. These guys need somebody back there, dropping little, sneak disses and whatnot over the mic and playing music. And, we're trying to make it an atmosphere. And I think it is an absolute waste in this gym if we don't do that, because the acoustics in here are great. It's, that people say that Hoosier gym feeling when we get it packed in here and I get a chance to get the crowd hyped up or even announce a game. I think for a student athlete, that's a really big aspect of it, because then it gives a lot of athletes something to look forward to when they know I have a game today. Oh, they're going to announce my name. And I think it catches a lot of other teams off guard when I do start announcing it. I say their name and they kind of look around like, oh, I'm getting recognition. So it might work in our favor because sometimes they don't want to get called out or there are things that happen. But yeah, I just love doing it. And I figure if I'm here, I might as well do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I was talking with Coach Oda a little about this earlier, but like, what can you say about the atmosphere of being in the McClatchy gym? Like that last Oak Ridge game where we just have Legion packed, tons of parents, the music, the stakes. Like, What can you say about that atmosphere?
That atmosphere is rivaled by professional sports, in my opinion. Back in the heyday when the Kings were really good in the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember going to those games and it being packed and all the noise and everything going on. I equate that to this gym because it gets so loud in here, you can't hear the person talking next to you, which for us ends up being an advantage because when we train, we train with noise, which is good. But yeah, that atmosphere, if you haven't come to a McClatchy playoff game, or even against a rival like a Kennedy or if Sakai rolls in here, then you haven't been to a game because this place, it before the AC, you see sweat dripping off the walls and just crazy out here. I didn't realize the bells worked.
No. All right.
It looks like it's a testing of the emergency broadcast system here.
I guess so. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so you talked about it a little bit. You're an alumni yourself. You played football back in the day, right? Or
what's that? I'm sorry.
You were on the football team back in the day, right?
I was. I actually played for Coach Feickert back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah.
Do you have any stories from that time? And also going off of that, what is it like playing for Feickert and then now being like working with him on a daily basis?
Okay, so he'll never believe this, but I actually liked him as a coach. He was the head coach and I was a lineman, so we had lineman coaches. But I'd say my favorite practice was when Feickert had to cover for the line coach that day because line coach wasn't there for some reason. And we played kind of like a king of the hill type of drill. And I loved it. I mean, the man knows his, he's so organized. He has all his X's and O's. And back then it was more of a disciplinary type of thing. And myself, I respond very well to that type of coaching. So I enjoyed that.
And it looks like they're testing everything on your end.
They're testing everything today. Yeah.
No, seriously. All right. So I was looking up some things. I saw there was a SAC B article a few years ago about how you and a few other alumni, including my freshman basketball coach, Coach Luis, have come back and are teaching now at McClatchy, and how they're trying to get alumni to come back. What inspired you to come back to teach, and how does it feel being one of the few teachers in a school that 75% of the teachers are white, only 25% of the students are white? So how does it feel to be that face in the classroom to a kid, to like give them somebody that looks like them in the classroom to look up to?
First off, I'll go by saying coming back and teaching is amazing. I believe those of us that are alumni, and I'm not saying those that don't have this, but I say we have a lot of pride in it. We try to come back full circle to give back to the system and the community that gave to us. Me personally, I had a great experience in high school, and I know experiences are what you make of it, and I made a pretty good one. I have forged friendships that to this day, I mean, I graduated in 2001, so I've been out for about 19 years, going on 20 years. And we're still really good friends. We hang out, we go to each other's, kids' things and whatnot. So coming back here, my goal is to give my experiences to the upcoming students and the youth. It's that old adage, if I knew then what I know now, I would go back and do things differently. Well, I know now, so I'm trying to translate that on to the newer kids that we have, so they can forge a path for themselves in a positive way. And as far as being like a person of color and giving kids a view of someone who looks like them, I think it's very important. And as I look in the past and I look back of teachers that I might have had, there were certain teachers of color that that you can probably count on one hand. And I would like students to be able to say that, I can't count how many teachers of color I had because I had so many of them, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I do believe that as long as you're a good teacher, it doesn't matter what color you are, as long as you're there and you're there for the students and you're there to help support them in any way possible. McClatchy being one of the most diverse, I think, is very helpful. In any department you look at throughout the school, we have a lot of diversity. And I was joking with one of my other coaches and colleagues that, hey man, you better watch out, the East Indian teaching percentage is growing. There's about 4 of us here. But I think it's it's very good and very calming to see. I think kids feel a little more comfortable when they see more people that look like them.
So do you think representation is important for McClatchy, for its student body and all that?
Yeah, representation I think is always important because people want to feel like they have a voice that's going to be heard. I know we have large groups throughout the school. I know that we have a large group of Afghan refugee students that come here, and when they see a familiar face like Miss Abdo, because she's wearing the hijab, she looks traditional, I think they automatically feel comfortable. Or even if they walk by and I greet them in their language. Not that I speak Farsi or Urdu or anything like that. I speak Hindi, but I'll say something like Salam Alaikum, and that automatically they get surprised that someone knows that, and you could tell that it kind of warms, almost kind of calms their sense of being in a whole new world. And I believe the same is with any student that we get that are where English is their second language.
Nice. So I also heard that you were involved with Mr. Feickert in creating our McClatchy weight room a few years back. What was that experience like for you in crafting that weight room?
Yeah, so my degree is actually in physical education. Kinesiology with emphasis on physical education. So I've went through programs. One of the classes I had was analysis of weightlifting, and we created a weight room in there too. But yeah, just when our old weight room ended up with holes in the floor, it was a small weight room, our previous one, which is now the dance/yoga room. That was a weight room I was in. It didn't really breed, like a sense of we're in here, we're putting, pounding to the pavement, we're trying to get big. And it was just like, oh, let's go get our bench and our things in and get out. Well, the new weight room, we definitely had more space, and we had the opportunity to get some grants. So I think Mr. Bowling ended up getting some grants, and then we brought it to ASB at the time. Mr. Douglas was the coordinator. He actually approved. He matched the amount of money that we got as a grant, and we were able to put in all those mats, the racks, the weights, the benches, and then with the help, I remember myself, Mr. Feickert, and Mr. Bowling came in on a Memorial Day, and we unloaded all those mats. We set it up, cut them, we fit them, and Mr. Feickert's wife actually made she painted the platforms for us, and so I mean, we kept it all in house. We made it. It was something more of a sense of pride to us because we wanted to see that program kind of go up enough to where we end up having Olympic weightlifting, and try to push that off the ground. And it was fun, to go out there and to build something, say, yeah, we've done this, and to see so much use come out of it. I mean, we have teams that are in there working out that previously weren't working out. I mean, we have the men's volleyball team coming in there, where women's softball will use it. Baseball comes in there. I definitely get my track team and cross countries in there more than the track team, I would say. They're trying to get strong. So I think it was very, very important for us to build something like that. If I had my way, we would have knocked down a wall and made it bigger. But I mean, hey, baby steps, right?
Do you think it's more meaningful to all of us that you guys kind of created it with your own hands, your own labor? Like you really put yourselves into it?
I would hope it'd be a lot more meaningful to the athletes that we made it, and we didn't just pay for it like certain and let's be serious, there's other programs out there that have a lot more money that can throw at it. We kind of made do with what we could. It's like our sense of home. It's almost like going to a CrossFit gym where like a owner operator puts it together. They have a little pride there. So yeah, I hope that the kids understand that that was built, not bought.
Nice. So I know in your free time you've got a love for nice cars. Yes. What led to this passion, and what's your favorite model?
All right, so growing up, our cars were always kind of on my radar. My best friends and I, we all, we really liked old cars. And when I was of age to get a car, I think I just turned 17, and I got my license. And the first car I bought, which I still have, was a 70 Nova. And we had auto shop here at the time at McClatchy, and I remember being in auto shop and pulling the car in and working on it and just getting down to it. And then having friends around me that were very similar. We all had old cars. I mean, Granted, it was 2000, 2001. If you were to pull into the parking lot, you would think that we were in the 70s or something, because there were a lot of old cars back there. There was probably a good 10 to 15 kids with old cars. A lot of us were immediate friends. And and then throughout the years, I just, just a gearhead, I guess, since I've gotten, I've owned a bunch of cars since then. But currently I still have the Nova, which I did a full engine and suspension swap on. And that one I'm working slowly on because I want to make sure I do it right. I have an old BMW, and I have a newer BMW, and then I have my truck. So I would have to say the Nova is my favorite because it literally grew up with me. So
obviously, we've been talking about how you're involved in a lot of different things with athletics, and then obviously being an alumni. What's your favorite McClatchy sports memory you've witnessed during your time here?
Oh God, there's so many of them. I would say one of my favorite memories was being at our Metro meet about 2 years ago now. I think 3 years ago now, and the final numbers coming through, and it was just the first count, and they count and they say, "Oh, Kennedy won the boys." And we're sitting at the table, and and I'm pretty modest, and I told my kids, "Hey, stay back, don't worry." Well, Kennedy's kids were there. All they heard was that, and they erupt, and they go running down the field, and they're jumping, and then they do the numbers for the girls. Say, "Oh, Kennedy wins the girls too." And I was kind of like, the boys, I was like, okay, I wasn't sure. The girls are like, no, I think we won the girls. Well, they go off running, and you see our kids kind of sad, and they said, "Don't worry, coach, we're going to recount." Well, they ended up recounting it, and then it actually flipped, and we won both boys and girls. And I think that was my first year as a head coach, and we had a couple of our kids there, and then they go running out, "Oh, they made a mistake, we won." And then our kids are jumping up and down, and I kind of look at the other coaches, I shake their hands, take my banners, and we, and I walk away. I was really modest about it, but then when I got back to my kids, then we partied. That was probably hands down one of my favorite moments, because there's a lot of times that you see other teams get hyped up and excited, and I knew that year that my kids worked really hard, and we did real well throughout the whole year. But that was probably one of my most memorable moments. We've had other moments where we've had buzzer beaters in basketball, football. I mean, just going out there and winning games at the last second. Watching baseball come out here, it's hard to pick, one single one. But I would say that the one closest to me was probably that winning the boys and girls at the same time for the first time in I think in a long time. Not in the modern era. I don't think we had won both at the same time. We've won one or the other, but winning both.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it was a little bit sweeter because it was over Kennedy as well?
Oh yeah, it's always sweeter when it's over Kennedy. Now, with that said, I'm from the older generation of McClatchy, and this team, Sac High, will be and will always be our number one rival. But I think the newer generation, it's Kennedy, and I think that came about a good 10 years ago or so. It probably because of the proximity, and probably the fact that Sac High became a charter school, so there weren't too many kids from the neighborhood going to both schools. That started gearing more towards coming to McClatchy and Kennedy.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Kennedy was as big a rival back in your day, but I think Sac High was kind of bigger back then, but then they left Metro, they became charter, all that, so yeah. How about Legion? Was Legion as big back in your day, and what do you think about it now?
So when I went here, it wasn't called Legion, but we just had a lot of school spirit. Like kids came out to kids came out to football games. Like, I mean, imagine a game against Kennedy, but imagine all the football games being like that, right? Because people would come out in droves to come, because that was the thing to do on a Friday night. You go to Hughes Stadium, go watch, the football team play, go socialize, hang out. Basketball games would be packed, end to end. People were just a little more proud of just school spirit in general. I think we've kind of floated away from that. And then when I came back was a resurgence of the creation actually of the Legion. And the Legion, when I came back in 05-06, was just crazy. I mean, it reminded me of my time of being here. And then they slowly dwindled down. And I can't blame like success, because we've really been successful. It's not like we haven't been successful, because I know a lot of times the lack of success brings lack of pride and lack of participation. But I think a lot of it is kids nowadays have such a huge workload and school load that they tend to, have to focus on a lot of that. But what we need to remind ourselves is that we use sports and extracurriculars to help the other side of our brain develop, and to leave our worries behind us. Like, oh, I got a test in a few days, but hey, let me go to this game for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to kind of be amongst friends and celebrate and just, have some fun and, not have to worry about all that stuff.
Definitely. All right. So track and field's coming off of some successful seasons. Obviously last season was cut short. What do you miss most about being around your team, being around the sport, with obviously the pandemic shutting things down?
I miss my team, man. I'll tell you right now. I mean, we're more of a family than a team. I feel like, like the father or grandfather figure, and it's all the troublesome kids. No, I love my kids. They all have different personalities. I miss being out there to train with them. I miss them coming to me and asking how to get better, and then when they do see improvement, that they just get excited about it and they want to work harder. This year was going to be very special. My seniors, they had been with me for a full 4 years. They were super dedicated. They started working back in November. It was definitely going to be a time that we're going to come through and make a lot of damage in the league section and at Masters and possibly even state. But it was unfortunately cut short. And I miss being with my coaches. Again, where, most of us are teachers on campus too. There's 4 of us that are on campus, teachers, so we get to see each other. We strategize, we see each other outside of the school setting too. So I missed being with them. And when all this just kind of cut out, it really sucked.
So Jack and Diego will kill me if I don't ask this, but what do you enjoy most about working with the throw squad?
Okay, so I originally came back as a throwers coach because I threw, right? And so the throwers will always have a special part of my heart, because we are a different bunch, right? We're the only group that can sit there, eat what we want, drink what we want, get the least amount of exercise, but go out there and just be really successful. And with throwers in general, I mean, I love that they're out there, they're dedicated. Even they were working. I actually hired one of my former athletes to come back and coach, who ended up going to college and throwing at a D2, D1 level. And he came back, and I noticed the throwers starting to take it a little more seriously and get into the daily throws and the routines that they had to do. So that's one thing that I am upset that I won't get to witness, is their first look at a full-time throws coach, because when you're a head coach, you kind of got to look over everything. And this year I decided to take over sprints because I did have a throws coach, but they're still real close to my heart.
So you're the McClatchy trainer, obviously. Do you have any weird injury stories? Like what's the weirdest thing you've seen on the job that
I'll say the team that has the most injuries is probably like the cheer squad. They have some of the worst concussions, I would say. God, there's been so many. One of the weirdest injuries, I said without being too graphic, was we're playing, wasn't even someone from our team. It was someone from Rosemont. And there was probably about 1:30 left in the game, and a kid comes off the edge. One of our kids comes off the edge, and someone grabs him and swings him around. And he collides with another kid, and the kid, definitely his leg broke, and it was sticking through his, you could physically see it. And all I remember is just running out there. Even though it wasn't my kid, I always, that's my thing. I'm there to help everybody, even if the other school has a trainer. And it just so happened to be that the trainer on the other side is one of my really good friends. And so we both go out there, and he ended up calling me after. He goes, dude, I've never seen anything like that. It kind of messed me up inside. I'm like, hey man, you handled it perfect. Try to, calm him down a little bit. Like, you did great. That kid's going to be able to walk again. It's, it's all good, So yeah, I would say like an actual compound break was probably one of the worst things that I've seen. And that's even that's even training at the junior college as well.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a moment for you, like early on doing this, where you're like, you go out there and you're just like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do with this? Or were you
I thrive under pressure. And I'm also really good at keeping the situation calm. As a trainer, we're there as the first responder. And even though there's at football games, there's an EMT on site, I'm going to be able to get to the athlete faster than the EMT is, because in the process of going and checking on to see if you need the EMT, that's time, that's precious time. So I always run into a situation assessing everything as I'm running up and seeing if we need it. And from where I was standing, I could already tell that kid was going to need an EMS. So as I'm running on, I'm waving at the other guys that wave on the EMTs, and just you want to make the athlete feel as comfortable as possible. And sometimes you're going to get some backlash from them because they're in a lot of pain, and they're probably upset, they're in pain, and a lot of kids, especially kids, they think their career's over. It's like, dude, you're only like 15 years old, 16 years old, calm down. It's that type of stuff. I like to try to keep the atmosphere a little less pressurized, and we just stay calm down the situation. And yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? But I don't show that, right? And then I revert back to my education and just trying to fix the situation.
All right. So we talked a little bit earlier about quarantine, the pandemic, all that. Do you have any new interests or new projects or anything that you've been working on during this time?
I actually started golfing a little bit. It was never something I like. I mean, prior to COVID, I maybe golfed 2 times in my life, like an actual full golf. I mean, I've been to the driving range a bunch of times, and I'm not good at it. But within the past 6 weeks, I went once a week for the past 6 weeks with a group of friends. So I'm starting to, get into that a little bit. But I am dying to come back to work in a physical sense. I will give up golfing to come back and be, in the brick and mortar again.
All right, I think it's time for your quote or your words of wisdom or whatever. What do you have for us, Coach?
Well, the people that are most successful are the ones that are working when nobody's watching. So that goes in any aspect, whether that's in the classroom, out on the field, out at your job. If you're the one that's cleaning up behind the scenes, nobody's watching, but you're doing it because not only are you bettering yourself, you're making it a better place for everybody else. If you're an athlete and you're working, you're at the park just running and working, or you're at home, you're doing your push-ups or sit-ups, you're watching the game film, you're getting better. Nobody's watching. So you're not doing it for the gratuity, you're doing it to better yourself and to better your team, so to say, and same with the classroom.
Very good. All right. Thank you, as always, to Coach Rowe for coming on, talking with us, sharing some knowledge, sharing some stories, all of that. Thank you so much. It was great having you on. I had a great time. Hopefully you did too. And yeah, thank you.
I did. I appreciate it, Ethan. Thank you very much. And always remember, dubs up, turn us down, McClatchy. There you go.
There we go. All right. We're going to end it.